Roll call, please.
Mrs. Egbert.
Yes, here.
Mrs. Johnston.
Here.
Mr. Skiff.
Here.
Mr. Matisich.
Here.
Mr. McCabe.
Here.
Mr. Marisano.
Yeah, here. Sorry.
It's okay. Mrs. Coffey.
Here.
Mr. Kowalski.
Here.
Mrs. Bomango.
Here.
Thank you.
The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Hanover Township Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and location of this meeting posted at the Board of Education offices located at 61 Highland Avenue, Whippany, New Jersey. Written notices was also published on the district website's Legal Notices page, transmitted to the Daily Record on January 14th, 2026, and the Hanover Eagle on January 22nd, 2026, filed with the Clerk of Hanover Township on January 7th, 2026, and transmitted electronically to those individuals who have requested such notice.
Thank you. I move to repeat the Pledge of Allegiance for members of the public who have arrived for the main public portion of the meeting. Can I get a second?
Second.
Mr. Marsano. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Good. You all good?
Okay. Tonight we have the special budget presentation, which Ms. Krasny is going to be doing. Thank you. Yes. Okay, thank you. Perfect.
So welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming. I love when people come to our meetings. It's a lot easier than us answering emails all the time, so we love when people come. I want to start out by definitely thanking and my sincere gratitude to our Board of Ed. This particular year has been a very difficult budget season, and without their leadership and their ability to listen to us go on and on about fiscal responsibility, we wouldn't be where we are today. So I'm very grateful for their commitment to our leadership and to our administration and everybody. So thank you before we even start. Thank you very much, sis. I really appreciate it. So I want to start by saying throughout this budget process, our main goal has been to protect the student experience. It is very important to us that we preserve as many programs as we can so that we do not disrupt what the students are doing. Our approach has always been grounded in careful planning, shared responsibility, and the commitment to making sure that high-quality education opportunities are offered to our students. We also must, at this time, prioritize supporting our teachers, and we also are prioritizing keeping our core leadership and maintaining that support. But at the core of this budget, I want to emphasize that it is about balancing fiscal responsibility at the same time that we do offer those high-quality educational experiences for students. So I really just want to know we are focused on excellence, and we do value our programs that we have currently. I put this slide up for the public. The Board of Ed, myself, Mr. Toomey, and our administration are well-versed in the education system. And we hear that all kinds of districts across New Jersey are basically what we call experiencing the perfect storm. We have higher costs going for health care. We have increase in transportation, increase in special education. And what districts are experiencing across New Jersey are budget shortfalls, staff reductions, and very, very difficult financial decisions. What I wanted to stress, it is not unique to Hanover Township. This is what we call a statewide trend, and this is basically shaping the challenges that we're experiencing currently in this budget that we built. So I really want you to take a moment here. There are local districts on here, and you're familiar with other towns around here that are in the same boat that we are, rising costs across the state of New Jersey. Oh, Michael, it won't let me go back, his system. Can you go back one for me, please? My apologies. Fingernails. So the goals when we started the budget process started way before the budget started. The Board of Ed, when they hired me, gave me a directive to audit all of the programs that we have here. So before we even started the goals, I had to step back a moment and look and see where we were. And then once I determined our needs, I started what we call a zero-based principal budget. And what that means is take nothing historically that was done, start from zero, and every dollar of income has a specific purpose, and every expense has to be necessary and justified. So it's like starting with a blank piece of paper and then moving forward to see what we really needed and match it to what we really, really need. All right? And then at the same time, we have to fund all the programs that are state and federally mandated, our special education, our transportation, various areas that have to be mandated, have to be funded. And then what we do from there is we have to evaluate continually our instructional practices, our non-instructional practices, and we have to align our resources to our student needs. At the same time, we have district goals. We have curriculum that we have reading platforms, we have math platforms, and we have to make sure that we are able to keep those in place. At the same time, we must fund our technology and fund our facilities, which I might add are very aged buildings and have had some problems over the years with leaking roofs. And at this point, when we're building our budget goals and we're taking a look at our budget, we're making sure that our facilities is a part of our budget. And then lastly, you have to be very mindful to all of you, the local taxpayer. I can't come to you and say, hey, give me all your money to build our budget. So if I had to say in one line what my goal was for this particular budget, it was to build a budget that was balanced, strategic, and 100% sustainable for the future. So as I stated earlier, the process is not an overnight task. It is an ongoing task. It even started before I thought of next year's budget when they hired me in August. So what I needed to do was identify instructional needs. You would think that would be easy because all along we offer Spanish, we offer math, we offer reading. But over the year, things change. People's needs change. We have to assess instructional gaps. We have to monitor, set our class sizes and our sections. So that's kind of where we start. And October is a month where we as a district and everywhere in New Jersey have to report out our enrollment. So about October and leading into the fall, we divert a little bit and we go and take a look at facilities and transportation. We look at technology. And then a little bit after the fall, like December through March, we then dissect our budget. We go and take a rigorous line-by-line item and we take a look. Because by December, we have an idea of where our enrollment is going to be. We have an idea, the rumors start of will we be funded and how we'll be funded. We meet with county executives on what we should be building into our budgets and what type of grant funding will be cut or will be given to us. So about December through March is where we do our rigorous line-by-line dissection. And what we do is we take a look at our actual spending request to make sure that every dollar is justified. And that goes back to my zero-based principle. We do not just say we bought something in a previous period that we're going to go forth and do it again. It has to be justified and necessary. So, what the problem we have going on here is we have a decreased enrollment, and that is requiring adjustments to align our staffing and our resources with our program needs. And like I said, a perfect storm. Unfortunately, across the state, every district has seen a double-digit increase in healthcare costs, and our district is 23%. We've seen a 20% increase in utilities. I don't have to explain to you. You can see your home bills. The difference for us as a school, we are billed at a commercial rate, which even has a higher increase than what we see at our personal homes. We have an increase over 18% of out-of-district placements, which includes tuition and transportation. I would like to note at that number, the private schools do not follow the same funding formula that we do. They have the ability to go and raise their rates higher than a public school district. That's why you'll see that number higher. And as reported in previous meetings, we have an increase in McKinney-Vento costs, which is our homeless population. At the same time, I'm going to reiterate our aging buildings, and I want to state the last bond referendum that we had in our district was 2002. It had nothing to do with helping out our facilities, but it was 100% wrapped around our additions that we have, which are wonderful. So we really haven't had any bond referendums in our facility. And then lastly, while we were building the budget, we were told by our county and state representatives to make sure and look out that there may be a potential reduction in grant funding. And that's the funding that we get from the federal government. Okay, so these are a culmination of driving forces. I want to state that these pressures are the driving forces that help and that are reflected, I would say more reflected in our budget. So it's not one item, I would say, on here. It's a combination of all, but directly related to our enrollment. As a visual, I wanted the public and the Board of Ed to see, and I put up an enrollment of over 10 years. In 2016, you had 1,461 students. Today, you have a decline of over 235 students. You have not had a reduction in staff over the years due to that decrease in enrollment. So the population trends are impacting our current staffing needs. And I want to take a moment to look. You will see this current year, 26-27, you see a little bump. I think eventually you may see over years an increase if more building goes on. That bump is just some kids that we have coming in through the kindergarten because of some of the programs I'm going to discuss that we have that we're bringing in district. So people should be asking, what have you been doing in district to save money? So I want to start by saying what we do. And this is prior to this administration. We are purchasing through cooperative partnerships, one being through energy, through ACEs. Another one, a lot of our supplies go through Ed Data. Our transportation goes through Morris County Services, Ed Services. We buy our technology through E-Rate. So there are a lot of partnerships that we leverage. Additionally, we're very fortunate to be in a wonderful town, and we're able to pool our resources. So we have a township where this year, our town DPW, they took our lot and they said, we'll help you out and we'll plow it. We will supply you with salt. They do our fields, they mow them, they give us our fuel, we buy our fuel from them, and lastly, they helped us greatly this time around. For anyone that's picked up their son or daughter, they filled our potholes. Especially at B Meadow, I should state. So we are doing things to have strategic partnerships so that we can contain costs right off the bat, even before we build our budget. So we're always looking for ways to save that we can make different partnerships that we have going on. All about collaboration and education. When I spoke about a little bump in enrollment, I couldn't be more pleased to be working with our Director of Special Services. She has taken on this plight to bring in-district programs to our school. That does, as a BA, help us in cost savings, but it has greater reach. It allows our students to be in their home district, to be with their peers, So next year, we are going to be introducing a new elementary multiple disabled class, but I have to give kudos out to this year. For the public who doesn't know, this year, we added a new LLD program into the middle school, and we added a full-day preschool disabilities class. So why I say it's great that our students are coming into our home district, which I think educationally is beyond sound. Fiscally speaking, I don't think that we realize not only do we have to send them to the private schools, these students that have needs, we have to bus them. So when I say that the schools have a right to raise their fees the way they want, transportation additionally is going up at the same time. And we place our kids in the most appropriate placements, but now that we have this Director of Special Services building our programs, it is really controlling our long-term costs, and it's really helping the students. So kudos to the staff that we have. In order to maintain costs, this is a big one, we are changing our transportation policy. For over many years now, our district has given what we refer to as courtesy busing. And what that means is the radius that you'd be bused is a 1.5 miles. In the state, it is mandated that you do a 2.0 mile radius. And basically what that means, if you live within 2 miles next year, you will no longer be eligible for courtesy busing, except if you are in a hazardous route. So really, all the districts around us are following state mandated. We've been very fortunate over the years to offer courtesy busing. But upon auditing our areas, it is not conducive for us to do so. We must try and cut down on cost. And that does include kindergarten. Thank you, Mr. Toomey. And I have to state, our goal in the Transportation Department has always been to be efficient and to maintain cost. But during the year, Mr. Toomey and myself have received numerous phone calls. And it's been like this: can my child be bused? My job has changed. Can I put my child on the bus? I can't take my child to school. And unfortunately, at the time, we were not set up with policy and procedure to offer what we referred to as subscription busing. We had to decline all of those parents. So in addition to changing our parameters from 1.5 to 2 miles, we are so excited now to offer, if the parents would like, subscription busing. And what that means, if you live under the 2 miles and your job means that you can't take your child to school or for any other reason, we are offering it at the cost that it costs us to transport children. So for one student, it's $700, which comes to $3.80 a day. For two students, it's $900, which comes to $2.45 per student a day, and for our families, $1,000. I must say, we will be notifying the parents on June 1st that we will be impacted by the change in transportation, as well as our website will be updated with all the details about subscription busing. We will also be sending out blasts, Mr. Toomey, so that we have all of the policy and procedures so that all of the public understands what's going on. And I'm super excited because it was very difficult saying no when the parents called. Sorry, we have a bus, we have a route, but we're not set up for subscription buses. So I'm super excited about that for the parents that really need it. This is the slide that is the most difficult for me to present on. Tonight's budget reflects reductions in staff. And I have to be quite frank standing here. There's not a school district around that takes this lightly. Our teaching staff is beyond dedicated, and they are so valued in their relationship with students. So for us to be up here and to talk about staffing reductions in a budget is extremely difficult. I want to be very clear, the Board of Ed reviewed carefully every position and every option to minimize any effect that it had on students. The decisions were not by a lack of any appreciation for any staff, by any type of their performance. It is purely based, and Mr. Toomey will explain as soon as I'm done, a little bit more about the tenure rules. But I just wanted to say one thing. Even though these reductions are incredibly difficult, they are being made with very thoughtful consideration, complete transparency, and commitment to making sure that we definitely still offer and sustain the quality of education that Hanover is so used to having and expects and deserves. So I'm going to turn the mic over to Mr. Toomey right now to go live a little more in-depth conversation about this slide. Thank you.
So if you've been following along, right, all year long, we have some people that are coming to the board meetings or watching them. This I hate to say shouldn't come as a surprise, because we started in the beginning of the year sharing a presentation on our finances with McKinney-Vento and the district's challenges. If you were to follow my first year, which was not this 24-25 school year, the auditor actually said we should be cutting 10 positions at that time. And I chose not to. I did not choose to go to the board and recommend that, because with me coming in my first year, with us having an interim business administrator at the time, I did not feel comfortable just saying, yep, we're just going to get rid of 10 positions, and I just got here. So having Mrs. Krasny come in, having us go through it. So the auditors that this year said to Mrs. Krasny, well, we told them to cut positions. Why didn't they cut positions? you might have to cut positions mid-year because you're in what's called an operational deficit, which basically there was a time this year where we were told we would not have the money to pay our bills by June. And that's pretty crazy, right? And I think the thing that, I say that to you is because the people that are working here, the number one thing is salary and benefits. We obviously have to pay the people who are coming to work every day, right? You expect a paycheck, you're doing a job, the benefits and all of that. So we really did not do this. Truthfully, we wanted, and as I shared last month, I said all of the positions would be posted. Now, all of the positions do not equate to people. Some of those people, and this will be posted online, so you'll be able to see it a little bit closer. The asterisks indicate that some positions reduced were through what's called attrition. So whether it be someone retiring, whether it be someone that resigned or took another opportunity, those positions were reduced. But again, it also, a bulk of this was enrollment driven. And where we say enrollment driven, the budget constraints made us have to look extra close because we have to submit a balanced budget to the county. We cannot submit a budget to the county that does not have enough revenue to cover the expenses, right? They won't. They'll kick it back and say, keep cutting. And so up here, you'll see from the teaching positions, right? And I said last month in my report, we would be presenting the positions so that everyone knew the positions that are being impacted, for next year. And then there are instructional positions and non-instructional positions. And as Mrs. Krasny said, it brings no one joy, right? Because you're dealing with people, in some cases, people who have given years and years and years of service to the district. It really was not an easy decision, but the other piece we really tried to look at, and I have to really thank the administrative team as a whole because they were really helpful in being a sounding board for Mrs. Krasny and myself and helping us as we worked through and navigate this, and it was months and months and months of conversations that led to this point. And so when you look at these positions, though, really the idea is we're scaling down to move forward. So the entire district has impacts here, right? When you look at the positions that are listed up here. The other thing that was mentioned at last month's board meeting was based on the difficult decisions, the elementary Spanish piece was going to be eliminated, right? We're still going to offer Spanish in some capacity, but not in the way that it's been offered currently. And then the elementary strings program would be phased out, meaning that next we will be providing kids that are in strings in 4th grade an opportunity to choose a band instrument next year. Middle school will still have strings offered to them and an ensemble after school. So they will still be able to play, but they could also do a band instrument as well. The other piece with the strings portion is that Whippany Park High School does not have a strings program. And so we have kids that are, and we're not the same district, right? If we were a K-12, we might be having different conversations. So we also did look at the articulation piece of where we're articulating up. And so again, difficult decisions were made, but you might be asking, well, how did you just choose who the people were, right? So there's something called tenure, right? And for those of you that don't know what that is, some people here tonight are actually going to be approved to earn tenure, which is a huge, feather in their cap, and that's later in the agenda. But tenure is after 4 years and a day as a teacher, you earn tenure. And so once you are tenured, your priority list is based on your date of tenure. So when you look at positions that are being eliminated, you have to start with non-tenured positions, so people that have been here for less than 4 years and a day, and then you go to the tenured positions, right? The other piece is if someone is tenured and has a certificate that they could be working under, they get to bump a non-tenured teacher. So when I tell you this is something, and I will say this, I ran everything through our board attorney because this is something that we want to make sure that we are doing as carefully and diligently, not haphazardly or putting names in a hat, but there is a required process of how we have to go through this. If you are a tenured teacher or staff member that gets reduced in force, we have to give you a letter that essentially tells you that if we were to add that position back, you have to be the first person to be called forever, like indefinitely, until, and so let's just say, I am not here anymore, and there has to be documentation for the next superintendent to know that I have to call, John Smith to offer him a position back, right? So and they can decline the position, but we have to offer the position. But that's for tenured teachers only. For non-tenured teachers, that requirement is not there. And like Ms. Krasny said, none of these were performance reasons. When I tell you there are rock stars, absolute rock stars that we are having to part ways with, and when I tell you as an educator, it brings no one joy, no one at all, and we realize how difficult it was, and something that we've really been trying to do is help these people who are now left without a job. We have been trying to leverage our networks to call, right? Not that we want to lose them, but we also want to make sure that they can get somewhere and land on their feet, right? And hope that maybe there's an opportunity to come back here at some point. But there were none of these reductions were because someone was not performing. It's actually the opposite. And I know, again, it's really hard to understand, well, why that person is so great. We'd hate to lose them. Understood. I totally get it, because like I said, this is probably the slide that makes me sick, and the slide that really we've lost sleep over quite some time. And so as far as how this looks moving forward, there are some things that still have to be worked out, right? We are working with the administrative team to make sure, like I said, from the student experience point of view, the real impacts that they're going to be seeing are the elementary Spanish and the strings at the elementary school, right? Those are the programmatic impacts. Everything else, the child will still be getting the experience that they had. It might be someone different than they have had, but they will still be getting that experience. And so, like I said, I wanted to emphasize that when you look at all of those positions, every part of the district was kind of impacted. It wasn't just one department was entirely scaled back. And the reason for that is we had to scale down, but also our sections have gone down because of that, right? You had sections, and I forget the exact number that I had shared, but we've gone down probably almost a dozen sections over the 10 years, and I have an exact number, so please don't quote me on that. But we've gone down sections, and that also means less classes that have to run for music, for art, for media, for all of those things. So, I wanted to just pause and explain that a little bit more, just so that everyone kind of understood where this is coming from, and trying to look at how we were, scaling down. And the other piece, we talked to other districts, and I will tell you right now, other districts have already done some of the moves that we're now doing, and in some ways I have to give this district a lot of credit, because this predates me. The fact that the district was able to make it to this budget cycle with the staff that they had is truly remarkable. It really is. Like I said, the auditors were on me last year, and I held firm, but at this point, we obviously aren't able to do that. And you can see up at the top, the savings of $1.33 million. That's not like, woohoo, we're saving, we have all this money in the bank. This is to get us up to sea level so that we can submit a balanced budget. So obviously, if that construction comes out, I remember as an assistant principal here years ago, there were all these talk about all these buildings that are going to be happening, and enrollment's going to be going up. Right now, we haven't really seen it materialize, but it might, right? And with all of the building that could potentially come, and in that case, we really, we would be, having to look and expanding. So like I said, I just wanted to take a little bit of a pause to explain that a little bit more in detail for you, and then we'll provide an opportunity for the board questions, and then public will have an opportunity for questions later in the meeting. So in case you have one.
Thank you.
I'll put it back for you.
Thank you.
Oh, God. There you go. Maybe. You want to hold it? Yeah, just hold
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Toomey. It's like a tag team up here. Okay, so now we're going to delve into the budget. Here's my part where I can get into a little more detail. So I put a slide up here about the major components of a general budget, and I think most of you know that most of the budget in schools is benefits and salary. And not that we don't value our teachers, it just takes up nearly, in this district, 77%. But what that shows us in this district, that it reflects that we have an investment in high-quality staff, and that we believe direct support for students is important. I will say other avenues that we have that are major components are out-of-district tuition costs are about 4%, transportation costs are about 6%, our related extraordinary service at 2.48. Even though I tell you that energy is going up through the roof, it is still significant. It's 1.75%. Collectively, the breakdown of these demonstrates the vast majority of how our budget is committed to core instructional and student-centered. With the 77%, it does show you that most of our funds are going towards student-facing opportunities. And these are just the major components that make up a little over 92%. If we want to get into a little more granular so that the public understands, here's a pie chart. And this pie chart shows us that a quarter of the budget goes to our benefits and a quarter goes to general instruction. And that really also then shows you that most of our budget goes to direct instruction. It really reflects strong investment in staffing. And it does show great investment in classroom support. The majority also, I want you to know, ensures the resources are focused on what's going in the classroom. 18.6% up there is our special or related services, and all of that is student-facing, so that you understand, which makes us really a wonderful district. Here's the key part behind school funding. It's kind of crazy. Here's a revenue history of a 5-year look back. And it's giving you a graph that shows the difference between current expense and tax levy. And what it's showing you, in 22-23, there was a gap of $3.46 million. And this year, we're $3.2 million. And basically, the positive takeaway from that is that we are narrowing slightly over time the gap between what you as a taxpayer pay and what we spend. Ideally, it should be a very little gap. But in our district, we are primarily funded by the taxpayer. So even though there is an ongoing gap, the key driver here is that the budget decisions that we've seen throughout the presentation, it is narrowing, which is a good thing for our district. As I said, over time, we as BAs and administration were waiting for our state aid numbers. You'll hear the state aid, the governor, these numbers are coming out. In our district, that's great. We love the additional funding. We would even like more if anyone's listening. But most of our budget is funded by you. Over 92% is from a tax levy. And we're very grateful to that. Our state aid only makes up 6.28%. And the rest comes from miscellaneous or fund balance. And miscellaneous would be something like interest, would be something like tuition in our pre-K. They're so small that we lump them all together. But it does show you that we are primarily funded by the taxpayer. Here's a breakdown, because this year when we were building budgets, it was kind of a crazy time, I want to explain. We were all told by the county to build 3 budgets, which makes this the craziest year. We were told to build one budget where we weren't going to get any state funding. We were told to build a second budget where we would get slight state funding, and then we were told to build a budget where it was flat. We were waiting for our state aid numbers to come out, because even though it's a small amount of money, and this year we've increased $113,332, it does help. And in this year, and in most years, it generally tends to help support our special education. So while I was building the budget, I knew that we were getting an increase in special education, and I couldn't go to the public over and over again, so I was kind of waiting for the state aid numbers to come out. And we were told when it was happening that you were either going to go up 6% or go down 3% because of the new governor and leadership. They didn't make the changes. They just tried to keep it the same as previous administration, which in our case is wonderful. We went up 6%. I want to spend a little time on the tax levy, and I want to spend a little time explaining. So in 2025, the taxpayer paid a little over $31 million. In school funding, in 2010, Governor Christie came out with a rule. He tried to help the taxpayer and say school districts can only raise their tax levy by 2%. I don't have to tell you, I look at my PSE&G bill. There's no way that is only going up 2%. So you can only imagine what our utilities are going up. And in school funding, the only way you can go above that 2%, which you could read that there are school districts that have done that, you have to go out for a question and say something like, we want to do something like keep all these employees, or we want to hire more employees. Will you allow us to do so? And then we can raise the taxes over 2%. The only other reason that we can go over 2% are something called healthcare adjustments or enrollment adjustments. The government's very kind. If you see a spike in enrollment from year to year, they will give you some funds. If you see a spike like we're having this year, unfortunately, in healthcare amongst all the districts, they give you what's called a healthcare adjustment. So in the graph, you will see this year we are at 5% tax levy. We are not allowed to go over that 2% that I explained, only due to the healthcare waiver and enrollment. You will see last year, it was a similar situation. The health care in the state went up, and the Board of Ed had it presented to you. I was not here, and you had gone up 5.08%. But that's not really what I want you to look at. What I want to look at is the years before. You've always been consistent and stayed between 0, you had a choice, and 2%. Kudos to the town for doing so. It's positive that you stayed at 2%. And it's great that it shows that you had growth when you needed to and growth when you didn't need to. So it's really great that we were able to use our cap when we can and when we can't. But I do want to know there's only exceptions to going above 2% is if it's voter approved by question. Okay? And the last slide is the most important slide for everybody sitting in this audience. How does it impact me? So this year's wonderful in Hanover Township. Our ratables have gone up, which is great. It helps your tax levy and it helps your tax rate. I'm excited about it. I'm hoping there's more building going on that decides to do something with some of the areas around here. So your average home is assessed at $431,500. I need to be clear, that is an assessed value. I'm sure you're sitting here saying, oh, I could sell my house for $1.2 million. It's not about what you could sell the house, it's what your tax man says your house is assessed at. So in our town, it's $431,500. In 2026, at that house assessment, your school tax will be $3,646.61. It sounds like a large number, but what I want to say is over last year, we are increasing $168.29, and that equates to $14.02 per month. Also, if you want to calculate it on your own house, I put on the slide, per $100,000, it comes to $32.98, which I think is pretty good in our environment that we're in with raising costs. I want to thank everybody for their engagement. Up here is an email. If there's any questions to the presentation, which will be online with our user-friendly budget, if you have any questions, that email goes directly to me. I would love to hear them. I would love to answer them if you can't get it out of the presentation or any of the user-friendly budget that's going to be up there. I really appreciate your time. And thank you to the Board of Ed. I really appreciate your commitment to being fiscally responsible.
I would just want to say thank you so much, Marcy. That was a fantastic presentation, like very transparent, very clear. I appreciate all the work that went into it and all of the work that you've done, you know, guiding us and putting us in, you know, through finance, transportation, physical plant, you know, you too, Justin, fantastic. So thank you. And I know there were a lot of difficult decisions, like they had mentioned as well. It doesn't bring any of us, you know, happiness to have to, you know, make these hard decisions, you know, but we're doing what's best for the district and the children. Does anybody have any questions?
I just have a comment.
Sure, of course.
Thank you both. And also, I just want to point out or highlight from their presentation that it really was an aggregate of relevant factors and no single factor was determinative. The combination of these factors prompted cuts. That was very clear. How those cuts were decided upon, however, although tethered to the need to implement cuts, was driven primarily by the 235 student reduction in enrollment. And so I think that's important to preface this all with. If you listen carefully to Ms. Krasny and Mr. Toomey and their explanation for each decision, you can see it to be the case. I want to applaud them for their carefully calculated analysis and recommendations, and I want to assure everyone that we challenged them aggressively for alternatives, options, and justifications, and I must say that you both met the moment each time. As a board member, we have to rely on their expertise, and I'm more than satisfied that they made these extremely difficult decisions as easy as they possibly could for us to get on board, and I sincerely hope that the community understands, recognizes, and appreciates their efforts, because it truly is the case.
Thank you. Okay. Does anyone else have any questions? Okay. Do we do budget questions now, or should we wait for public? Go ahead. Okay. Does anybody from the public have any questions about the budget presentation? Only the budget presentation at the time? Okay. Yeah. We can do it. We can. That's fine. We'll wait for public comment.
If you want to do it then, no problem.
Okay. Okay. All right. So then we're going to move on to a motion of the approval of minutes. Okay. Can I get a motion on the approval of the March 24th, 2026 Hanover Township Regular Public Board meeting minutes and the March 24th Executive Session meeting minutes?
Motion.
Mr. Morsano, can I get a second?
Second.
Mr. Schiff. Is there any board discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to committee reports. We don't have any presentations. Ms. Krasny and Mr. Toomey took care of it tonight. Ms. Egbert for personnel, please.
Hi, good evening. Personnel Committee report. We met on April 21st at 7 p.m. Members present were Justin Toomey, Lisa Domingo, Karen Coffey, Gina Johnson, and myself, Christine Egbert. At the April 21st Personnel Committee meeting, the following items were reviewed. The committee accepted the retirements of 5 staff members, including a health and physical education teacher, school nurse, speech language specialist, elementary teacher, and an art teacher effective September 1st, 2026. We also acknowledged one resignation from a maintenance mechanic effective May 26, 2026, along with an extension of intermitted leave of absence previously approved 2/24/26 to be effective through 4/29/26. Appointments and salaries for both non-tenure and tenure teaching staff for the 2026-27 school year were reviewed in accordance with the board HTEA agreement. Several staff transfers and reassignments were discussed effective September 1st, 2026 across multiple schools and roles, including classroom teachers, special education, Spanish, social work, media specialists, and music positions. Approximately 10 in total. The committee discussed staffing impacts related to the 26-27 budget, including the non-renewal or reduction in force of several positions across the district in both instructional and support areas. These impacts include a combination of non-tenured positions and one tenured position spanning elementary and middle school levels, as well as the district support services, as part of an overall budget and staffing adjustments for the upcoming school year. It was noted an adjustment was made to a previously
Thank you, Ms. Egbert. Ms. Johnston?
The Curriculum, Technology, and Student Achievement Committee met on Tuesday, April 21st at 6 p.m. Those in attendance were myself, Karen Coffey, Christine Egbert, Lisa Bomengo, Aaron Mosserman, Sherry Copen, Justin Toomey, and Michael Falgaris had called in. Our curriculum approvals that we discussed was the approval for the Comprehensive Universal Screening Focus Competitive Grant. And it was noted by Mr. Wasserman that the district received this grant last year for $5,000, and the money from this grant was used for the DIPPLES program that's being used this year. Special education updates from Mrs. Copen for the 2026-2027 preschool classes. The classes are full, and families are being notified that their child is able to attend, and we have a wait list of about 15 students. And starting for the upcoming school year, Mrs. Copen discussed how students will be grouped for resource room classes in our district. And an update on McKinney-Vento. Our McKinney-Vento audit is complete. Also, for the upcoming school year, McKinney-Vento will be adding an additional platform to its registration process. Michael Falgaris updated the committee with about the following. Genesis, our new program, will launch on July 1st, 2026. The new program will integrate with all the other district systems such as Linkit and N.J.S.A and et cetera. Our climate surveys will now be on JotForm instead of SurveyMonkey. And he discussed summer work with the ed tech specialists and also discussed the launch of the district social media page. For curriculum updates, the Whippany Park High School and N.J.S.A science and special education teachers will be having an articulation meeting. And ninth grade teachers are going to come observe science and special ed classes at N.J.S. And then after, eighth grade teachers will be going to observe science and special education classes at the high school. And also, we have been asked by staff to consider changing our marking periods to trimesters for grades K through 5. And our climate surveys distribution was discussed. And then Mr. Wasserman gave us the dates for the grades 3 through 5 reading coaching from now to the end of the year. And the Mountain View coaching happened on April 1st and April 13th, April 14th, and will be having their final meeting on May 19th. For Salem, coaching happened April 21st, April 22nd, and their final coaching day will be May 28th. And for BMS, the coaching was April 24th, and will be coming again May 8th, and their final coaching will be May 20th. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Ms. Johnston. Mr. Morsano?
Thank you. Finance, Transportation, and Physical Plant.
I apologize. Finance, Transportation, and Physical Plant met on the 20th last week. Present were Lisa Bomengo, Chris Matisich, Gregory Skiff, Justin Toomey, Marcy Krasny, Billy Padovano, Ricardo Santiago, and myself. Transportation updates. All buses have passed inspections on April 1st and April 8th. The next round of inspections is set for October of 2026. The Touch a Truck event is scheduled for May 2nd. Memorial Day Parade is scheduled for May 25th. Traveling Teens is scheduled for July 6th through the July 31st. Just so everyone knows, we help out the town with busing for those events. Also, a retired bus driver from our district has been reappointed as a substitute driver. Physical plant updates. BMS Kitchen has passed health inspection and is approved for full operation. We'll be looking to hire for a September start. The Mount View PTA donation for 3 pieces of playground equipment was discussed. Donation totals $25,473. Billy was to meet with the vendor, Liberty Parks and Playgrounds, on 4/24 of last week. There was a drainage pipe in the Mount View parking lot that broke and caused a small sinkhole. A company had been engaged to repair that pipe in affected parking lot area, and another drainage pipe at the N.J.S.A soccer field broke and caused a small sinkhole. A company was engaged to repair the pipe in affected soccer field. Finance updates. Obviously, we discussed the budget in detail. The preliminary the budget was approved by the county. We discussed possible bond referendums and the possible steps and schedule along with that. the district will enter a shared services agreement for the bidding and purchasing program with Educational Services Commission of Morris County for 2026 and 27. The district will renew with Kroll for fixed assets property insurance appraisals, $2,200 for the 2026-27 year. Negotiated with PNC Bank for new rates for our accounts. This bumped us from 1.75% up to 3%, which is a small boost in revenue going forward, but any boost is welcome. There'll be an auction of the natural gas services to try to secure a better rate, and this will remove us from ACES, where we currently get our natural gas. And we discussed the upcoming budget presentation. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marsano. Mr. Matistich?
Yep, so the Public Relations Committee met on April 20th from approximately 6 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. at Memorial Junior School. Present was Justin Toomey, Lisa Bemengo, William McCabe, Joe Kowalski, and myself. The agenda items recommended for approval were discussed. Mr. Toomey presented a list of the Whitney Park High School students who are volunteering their services for their Senior Service Leadership Program from late May until the end of the school year, which include James Fico volunteering for Carolyn Massey at N.J.S.A, Nicolette Laloya volunteering for Brianna Grosso at B Meadow, Nicholas DeAngelis volunteering for Rosemary Perrone at Salem Drive, Samantha Leone volunteering for Stephanie Cerrito at Salem Drive, Sophia Caro volunteering for Amanda Young at Salem Drive, Loriana Ventura volunteering for Ashley Protasowicz at Salem Drive, and Sawyer Grimali volunteering for Suzanne Pedalino at Salem Drive. We discussed final approval for the updated school calendar reflecting the last day of school, graduation day, and early dismissal days for 2025 to 26. Discussed approval of the emergency evacuation use agreement between the Board of Education and County College of Morris. And we discussed other items that are not up for approval today, working with a Whitney Park student about an Eagle Scout project for building benches at each elementary school. We discussed the public hearing of the proposed 2026-27 budget. We discussed hopes for Hanover and wishes for Whitney contest. Discussed the Teacher Staff Appreciation Week 2026 held May 4th through May 8th. Discussed the strategic planning implementation teams and their action plans to achieve their goals. We were updated on the grade level shows, discussed extending our congratulations to the Memorial Junior School Spring Musical, The Addams Family, discussed social media update with outreach onto Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, and meeting with a PR firm. And that meeting concluded approximately 6:30 p.m. That concludes the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Matistich. Mr. Skiff?
Good evening, everyone. The Policy Committee met on April 20th at around 7:30. The meeting lasted until around 8:30. Those present included Justin Toomey, Lisa Bomango, Mark Amarsana, William McCabe, and me. The agenda items that were discussed and recommended for approval consisted of conducting a second reading of the following bylaws, policies, and regulations. Policy and regulation number 1552, sexual harassment, mandatory policy. We also discussed abolishing the following bylaws, policies, and regulations. They include policy and regulation number 3362, sexual harassment of teaching staff members complaint procedure, and policy and regulation number 4362, sexual harassment of support staff members complaint procedure. And those policies were abolished because they were subsumed by policy and regulation number 1552, which is what we're doing the second reading of tonight. For the good of the order, we looked at policy and regulation number 2431, athletic competition, and we had discussions concerning uniformity with respect to homeschool children and looking at potential modifications to that policy. We also considered policy and regulation number 8600, student transportation, as was discussed during the business presentation, updating mileage radius from 1.5 to 2 miles pending budget approval, offering subscription busing for ineligible students, and opting out or updating the opt-out and waiver language, and a review of a sample policy from another district that has a similar policy. Lastly, we had discussions concerning the pending litigation over policy and regulation number 8463, parental notice required, and after that, we concluded the meeting. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Skiff. I will now open the floor to public comment on agenda items only. You will have, please state your name, municipality, and group affiliation if applicable. You'll have 5 minutes to address the board and will receive a 30-second warning to begin closing your comments. Are there any public comments? Okay. Yeah, that's fine. You'll have a second chance for public comments. Yeah, you could do it now. Okay. Or you can wait. There's another public comment section if you. Okay, I'll wait. Okay. Okay. All right, so we're going to move on to board actions. Ms. Egbert?
Upon recommendation of the superintendent, move items 1 through 23 on the personnel consent agenda.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, Ms. Johnston? Is there any board discussion?
We do have several people here in attendance. I know I sort of pointed them out before, but we really appreciate your dedication to the Hanover Township Public Schools. And, you know, in a time of uncertainty, you know, it is still nice that we can at least take a moment to celebrate the hard work of, I believe I saw Chris here, I see Brianna here, I know Joelle's here, Sarah's here, and Trish did email me. She sends her regrets that she couldn't be here, but you know, I think one thing that always sticks with me is a wise man, a wise old man named Mr. Wasserman has always said, what makes us unique is it's about the people, and I think that this is a testament to the type of people that we're so thrilled to have here in Hanover Township, and appreciate your dedication to the students. The students are lucky to have all of you, as well as the support from the principals and the administration that help support you each and every day. So congratulations, and if you have families in attendance, you know, thank you for sharing them with us. So congrats.
Yes, congratulations on your tenure, and thank you. So, are there any other comments? Okay. Then we will move on to roll call.
Mrs. Egbert?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnston?
Yes.
Mr. Skiff?
Yes.
Mr. Matisich?
Yes.
Mr. McCabe?
Due to the fact that I worked with or taught some of the people on the personnel list, I'm going to abstain.
Thank you. Mr. Marsano?
Yes.
Mrs. Coffey?
Yes.
Mr. Kowalski?
Yes.
Mrs. Bomango?
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, Ms. Johnston.
Upon the recommendation of the superintendent, approve agenda items numbers 4, 28, 26, 26-24 through 27 on the regular agenda.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Marsano. Is there any board discussion? Okay. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Egbert?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnston?
Yes.
Mr. Skiff?
Yes.
Mr. Matisich?
Yes.
Mr. McCabe?
Yes.
Mr. Marsano?
Yes.
Mrs. Coffey?
Yes.
Mr. Kowalski?
Yes.
Mrs. Bomango?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Marsano?
Upon the recommendation of the Business Administrator Board Secretary, move the following finance, transportation, physical plant items, numbers 42826-28 through 42 on the regular agenda, and item number 55 on the supplemental agenda.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Skiff, is there any board discussion?
I just want to give a lot of credit to Justin and Marcy. They've done an amazing job. This is not easy. A lot of times when decisions like this are made, you have, I'll clean it up, terrible choices and even more terrible choices. So they're never easy choices. And they did some incredible deep dives into how to make this work. the best that they can to make sure that this district continues the way it's been all these years, which is an amazing district. And I want to give them a lot of credit for doing that. Thank you.
Is there any other board discussion? Okay. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Egbert?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnston?
Yes.
Mr. Skiff?
Yes.
Mr. Matisich?
Yes.
Mr. McCabe?
Due to the fact that I taught the elementary strings program for almost 10 years, I'm going to abstain on this vote.
Thank you. Mr. Marisano?
Yes.
Mrs. Coffey?
Yes.
Mr. Kowalski?
Yes.
Mrs. Domingo?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Matisich?
Upon the recommendation of the superintendent, I move the following public relation items, numbers 43 through 52, for approval.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Skiff. Is there any board discussion?
Real quick. So just a few things, since I didn't do a report since you heard enough of us tonight, but a highlight of what Mr. Matisich shared, we are on Facebook at HTPOE, so that should be live if you were to look now and follow us. Instagram is coming, and LinkedIn as well. Thank you, Mr. Falgaris, for pulling that up for us tonight. And we do plan to share a lot of wonderful updates, and all of the people that will be, all of the pictures that would be there would obviously be publicity authorized, so parent consent would have already been given for those pictures. Two other quick things. One, special thanks to the Hanover Township Education Foundation for the fun run and the 5K on May 9th. 8 o'clock, so there was something in the newsletter, the flyer, and it went home. I'm going to send another blast, so please, all of the money raised goes to your students or your children. So we appreciate the Hanover Township Ed Foundation. And last but not least, on May 6th, there is a human trafficking event that the mayor is championing. It's a human trafficking survivor that will be presenting at the Township Municipal Building. It is a highly anticipated event that is drawing a lot of attention all the way up to the governor's office, so there is a RSVP required if you are interested in going, but that is on May 6th at 7 p.m.
Thank you. Is there any other board discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mrs. Egbert?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnston?
Yes.
Mr. Skiff?
Yes.
Mr. Matisich?
Yes.
Mr. McCabe?
Yes.
Mr. Marisano?
Yes.
Mrs. Coffey?
Yes.
Mr. Kowalski?
Yes.
Mrs. Bomango?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Skiff?
Upon the recommendation of the superintendent and the policy committee, I move to adopt item numbers 53 and 54 of the policy portion of the agenda.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Ms. Egbert? Is there any board discussion?
I just want to thank Justin. If I remember correctly, we've actually gone and are up to date now. This has never been done. We created this policy committee specifically because we were so far behind. Some of these policies went back decades. And we spent a lot of time with the help of Justin and really went through and made sure that everything aligned with what we're trying to do here in the district and keep it as great as it's been for so long. So I want to thank Justin for all that work in there. I want to thank everybody on the committee for really putting the time in to make sure this was done right. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you, Justin.
Is there any other board discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mrs. Egbert?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnston?
Yes.
Mr. Skiff?
Yes.
Mr. Matisich?
Yes.
Mr. McCabe?
Yes.
Mr. Marisano?
Yes.
Mrs. Coffey?
Yes.
Mr. Kowalski?
Yes.
Mrs. Bomango?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we will reopen the floor for public comments. You'll have 5 minutes to address the board, and will receive a 30-second warning to begin closing your comments. Please state your name and municipality and group affiliation if applicable. This is final call for public comments this evening.
Hi, my name is Karen Berenger. I'm a Hanover Middle School parent.
Okay.
And I was supposed to say something else, but I forgot already.
No, you're good.
Okay,
That's perfect.
Thank you. So good evening, members of the board and the superintendent. We are told that decreasing enrollment down from 1,467 students in 2016 to projected 1,226 students in 2026 is the reason for the current budget proposal. However, I must ask, if we have 16% fewer students, why is the solution to cut 9.4 teaching positions? By cutting nearly 10 teachers, we aren't just adjusting for enrollment, we're actively increasing class sizes and gutting the music and world language program. That makes our school a place where children want to learn. We're cutting the people who actually teach our kids to protect an administration structure designed for a student population that no longer exists. I believe we can find money to restore these positions by modernizing our front office instead of emptying our classrooms. First, let's right-size our leadership. We still have 3 elementary principals for a smaller student body. By moving to 1 principal overseeing these 3 buildings, supported by a vice principal in each school, we maintain a leadership presence while saving a significant amount of money. It's a simple waiver application to the state. This allows us to keep our teachers in the classroom while staying compliant with the new Teach New Jersey Act. Finally, we can embrace an AI-driven operation overseen by a single district specialist. By automating clerical tasks and utilizing our remaining part-time aides for admin support, we can create a leaner system that prioritizes people over paperwork. We don't have to lose our teachers. We don't have to lose our support staff. We just have to find the courage to scale our administration to match the current enrollment. Let's protect our 1,226 students we have today by keeping the teachers in front of them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kimberly Dieter Lizzie, B Meadow School, parent. Okay, sorry, I've never done this before and I did not have anything prepared. First and foremost, I know that you guys are in a very hard position. So like everyone had mentioned, I'm sure we all can appreciate how hard this was for you. But as a parent, I have 2 little boys in the school right now and a younger boy who will be coming in 2 years. So it was pretty extreme for a lot of us parents at B Meadow to lose specifically a kindergartner teacher who was non-tenured, but absolutely, like you had said, a rock star. So I kind of have more questions than just comments. I was curious as to how many kindergarten classes there's going to be next year because there's so much talk and not a clear answer. I've heard 1, I've heard 2. If it is 2, what's the plan there and why cut the kindergarten teacher and who will be teaching that? Another question that's been going around is the music program. So tonight I saw strings was being cut, not really mentioning of the actual music program, but I've heard that the music teacher is being cut. So really just wanting to know what that looks like for our elementary students, what their music program looks like, and also the strings in middle school. I believe we said that's being cut, or that's being kept, right, the middle school? So my question there is, why is that being kept if we don't offer strings in high school? And if we wanted that program, why not make it a revenue-driven extracurricular and have parents or families who have children who are interested in that pay for that? Also, on that note, extracurricular, there's been no mention of any like sports downsizing or cutting of sports or making registration fees for sports or just having families pay for that, just as ways that we can, fill the deficit and save some teachers. Another big question that I have is this lunch program that we started. There was no talk about that and the revenue that was supposed to bring in. Do we have any projections because that was supposed to be a way for us to make money, and now we're having a pretty extreme cut and loss of teachers and staff. So I kind of wanted to know more about what the plan is with that and why it's not effective or didn't help us. And did we ask any teachers for early retirement if they were interested in that? Specifically, there is a teacher going on maternity, which was just public knowledge just of this week. So who's going to fill that for her? And then non-tenured seniority, did that go in effect for some teachers being cut? If there was, I'm not sure, I don't know who's tenured and who's not, but again, just from having conversations with other parents, apparently there was, say one non-tenured still saved and one from our school not saved. So just how did you weigh those options and pick why our kindergarten teacher is leaving? And lastly, my one question about the deficit for this year, is it the 1.33 million? Is that what we were trying to make up for? That's the number that we had to make these cuts. Okay. That's it. And also the subscription busing, great, amazing. I feel like, especially for a mom of 3, it's very silly. And I reached out to you a lot last year why my one son can go on a bus, yet I have to drive my other one. Makes, 0 sense. And I would have absolutely had paid to have that ease of our schedules and our life. There's a lot of value in that. So that could be revenue as well. So I know it didn't happen yet, but do we have projections? Like, why did that that's it. Okay, thank you.
You can keep going.
No, that's it. Thanks.
I saw that, the timer. Thank you, Michael.
Paul Sesko from Whippany. Kids used to go to Salem Drive. I was just thinking a lot about maybe there's certain ways we can save money. The first one you guys probably won't like is candlelight, instead of lights in the rooms. There's a little humor, but what about some of the state testing? I was talking to a parent the other day, and she said that her son only had to take the state testing for 11th grade, and it was opt-out. So is there any way to cut back on some of that? Because doesn't that cost us a lot of money? And I would rather have instruction, our teachers, using instruction time for the kids. I always thought that was a better thing. I don't know, maybe the next meeting, I was just wondering if we could go over some of that, if that's possible. I don't know if anything like that's possible. But I do have to say, I'm for the teachers, but I'm also for the principals. And I've come to a lot of meetings, and I see all the extra stuff that our principals do, the time they put into it, and they put their hearts into it. So I think they're very important. If you come to the meetings, you'll see what they're doing, a lot of extras. And I've had some really great results over the years with my kids, with all the principals. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sesko. Are there any other board comments? Any other comments? Okay. All right. Is there anything for board discussion?
I just want to say a couple things, maybe a little bit of responses. So I just want to point out that we are not cutting the music program. The string program is a wonderful program, but it is not as widely attended as the other musical programs, and it also does not translate to the high school. Yes, we are continuing it in N.J.S. for specific reasons, but it's after school. It's not. We're not pulling right. It's a club. It's not. A curriculum, part of the curriculum. So as far as class sizes, we are still. We have not changed our policy. We are still within our class sizes per our policy, which is well below state requirements. So that has not changed. We just want to let you guys know that. And as far as why the cuts happened the way they did, this was mainly driven by, loss of students. And it's something that probably should have been addressed years ago as this occurred. And now, as you can see, for many reasons, it's caught up to not just us, but many districts. I think you could probably correct me if I'm wrong on that, but that's my understanding of it. And like I said, we understand there's going to be people who are upset. There's There are very good teachers that are unfortunately caught up in this. There are very good support staff that are caught up in this, and it was not easy. And believe me, if there were a way with any of the suggestions that were put out there that made sense, it was looked into, and it was, weighed very heavily. But I do appreciate everyone for coming up. It's very difficult to get up here and stand and talk, and I do appreciate everyone doing that for us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Ms. Crosby?
Thank you. I'm going to take two questions. One, I'm going to take the lunch program question. Thank you for asking that. I walked into that. I want to let you know that the kitchens needed to be built out. So when we talk about a revenue generating model, you first have to absorb the costs. So we put capital improvements into the kitchens in order to cook into them. And I think the projection prior to me being here, it's anywhere from 3 to 5 years to start making money. On that note, I want to let you know we're doing phenomenal. We are way ahead of in our sales of other neighboring districts, so we are doing well. We are on the way. The district goal was primarily not only to build the program to make it successful, additionally to make sure that we had a way of reporting and recording so that we can make sure that we don't have what I refer to as bad debts or people that are not paying for their lunch bill. So one of the goals was the district did not want to absorb any I think the correct way of saying it, any parents that weren't paying the bills or collections, and that's been absorbed also. In this lunch program, there's an automated called Pay School cycle where people can load their money on, and we're very proud to say that we have most of our parents are paying. It's not a problem. So it's successful. It's just not from a revenue model the way you're described. It'll take 3 to 5 years for that to be successful.
And I just want to add, having been through this process, so one of the main goals was that the district was spending $90,000 out of its general operating budget to pay for the free and reduced lunch students, right? Because we had to pay for the Simply Gourmet. We were also paying the PTAs for the pizza that the kids were getting. So that immediately was not an expense anymore for this year. The other thing that we've done is Mrs. Krasny has done an excellent job of getting people enrolled in the free and reduced lunch program, which then also in the future will make us more eligible for grants because we show that we have more need as a district. The other thing I want to also make sure that is clear is the money for the kitchens did not come out of our general budget. It came out of what's called capital reserve, and that's money that is set aside that we can't just spend on salaries or pencils and pens, right? We can only do it to do improvement projects, and so that money had been sitting there. It was close to $2 million, I believe, was in the account, and we did not spend $2 million by any means, and so that's what was used to cover that because we didn't want to take that out of the general budget. But I think to Ms. Krasny's point, the idea is for those of you who have lived here, I mean, I grew up here. The community's changed and it's changing, right? The needs have changed and they're changing. So this was an opportunity. We had to invest in it in order to be able to see bear the fruit that's going to take some time. So I think in some ways the revenue this year is really that we didn't have to spend $90,000 on the free and reduced lunches because we're getting reimbursed through the federal government for that. I mean, that's up to you. It's up to you.
Go ahead.
I understand that it's not making money now, but my question is that part of like projections for the future, or this is, because I don't know how this works, but does the budget is just year to year? So if we have a $1.3 million deficit this year, we don't account for what could be, in our pockets in 3 years from the lunch program and save the teachers now. I understand it takes time, but I just.
So you're thinking like private sector, which is like, like I'm going to probably go on record and get fired saying this makes sense. In the public sector, we have to follow rules and obviously,
I'm going to explain that. So the lunch program is not in any of the numbers that I projected. When we speak here, it's called general fund. The lunch program goes through something called an enterprise fund. In governmental accounting, you have to keep that separate. So no funds come out of the general for that, and the revenue that goes, or the sales that we call revenue, stay in that. So it had no impact on the $1.33 million or any of that. It's totally a separate, what we call separate fund accounting. So the money that comes in on sales will go to keep that operational and sustainable on its own. We don't take the sales money to go buy supplies in our general budget. The whole idea is that the food program runs and is sustainable on its own.
and your question about looking 3 years ahead, I think we are looking 3 years ahead, but the county is looking at this year's budget and says you cannot submit a budget that does not have enough dollars to meet the expenses, right? So even if we say, hey, we're good for it, it's coming, they say nope, and because what happens is the county there's districts that actually have to say if they're projecting a deficit, right? And if you do that, you start to be on what's called state monitor watch list, where they then assign you someone to come from the state, and then that person tells you what you're cutting. They don't care what I say or what Mrs. Krasny says. They say, nope, that person needs to go, or that thing needs to go. And I think, listen, I think so we are looking multiple years ahead, and to be truly transparent and not to cause alarm. But there's conversations in the county and the state meetings that I've been in. Districts are already looking at what's next if healthcare continues to climb the way it's climbing, or if costs keep climbing the way they're climbing, because we're waiting for help from Trenton. We're waiting for help from the state, because of the fact that these increases are not sustainable for anyone, right? And I think that's where we're caught in a rock and a hard place, and and that's really where we're looking for that relief, and we're trying to be as creative as possible and try to explore as many things as possible, and balancing all the needs of the district, right? Because of the fact that we have to balance our budget, and so I think that's also a challenge. And look, the state government, if you really that's an exercise in something, there's a lot of statutory requirements that we have to follow, and the hoops that Mrs. Krasny has to follow just to submit the budget to the county is an exercise in futility, if I do say so myself.
And I want to add on, you had asked about asking teachers for early retirement. I was in the classroom many years ago. Unfortunately, I didn't have that time at the time, but I remember that comes also from the state. We can't just go walking around and asking people if they want to early retire. Actually, I don't think we can at all legally, but the state is the one that mandates that push. And since I've been in education over 20 years, I've seen it once. So we all, as BAs and superintendents, would have liked that initiative. It would have incentivized the people that are 23 years in that are waiting to get to 25, but did not happen this year. And maybe next year it'll happen to offset some of the costs.
Sure, yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah. Name.
Sarah Karate, and I have children at Bee Meadow School, and I am neighbors and friends with many of you. We'll swim at the pool in a couple of weeks. And my question was about early retirement, and I know that there's a handful of teachers in these schools who are going to retire in 1 year, in 2 years. How are we going to hire in a different way so this doesn't happen again? I mean, my child's beloved kindergarten teacher, so wonderful, best teacher she's ever had. Like, why can't we keep her? That's so, nearsighted, right? Like, why are we losing these talents when our children, talk about excellence. She is excellent. So when all these teachers retire 1 year, 2 years from now, how are we going to hire for those positions, and can we keep them, or are we going to let them go in 2 years? That was my question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I respond?
Yeah, go ahead, Greg.
I'll respond to that and a couple other questions. Personally, I wish merit played a bigger role in this analysis. It doesn't, and I think Mr. Toomey explained that. So that's what made a lot of these decisions difficult. And again, it's not like we were looking at, we don't think we think this teacher is unperforming, but we're stuck with them. That wasn't the case either. So we're talking about, best, better, great. It's not, and it's not part of the analysis that we have, that Justin had to go through, that we had to go through. So I hear what you're saying, and I frankly wish we had more of a say in that regard, but we don't. Also, as for our administrators, Karen, we next door neighbors, grew up together. I just respectfully disagree with you. I think we need an administrative presence in every building. Then maybe I misunderstood. I thought you said we would reduce to one administrator for the 3 buildings. I'm having trouble hearing you. I'm sorry.
So I understand what you're saying. There's really it's not as great of a savings there as you expect. And honestly, I don't even know if legally we could do it that way. Just have a vice principal. I mean, it's really
So
splitting
truthfully,
hairs.
that was not a priority of the district, and I am so grateful to our principals that we have here, and I think our principals do make our schools the great schools that they are to come and learn. And having been a former elementary principal, obviously I'm biased because I was an elementary principal. I hear it, and here's the thing. To your point, we might get there, right? We don't know what's going to happen, but at this round, right, the goals were trying to prioritize the existing class sizes, which is the 22 in K to 3, and the 25 in 4 to 8, which we're able to do. That was the goal, and again, maximizing the experience. So to the one question, Beat Meadow students will still get their music class once a week, right? It might not be the teacher that they had, but there will still be one of our music teachers, right? And because the sections have gone down, we have sections of next year as small as 12, right? And so, that's where the mixing and matching and sharing specials, right, between buildings are going to happen, but they're still going to get a music class, they're still going to get an art class, they're still going to get their media class, they're still getting all of those things. It just, as I mentioned, might be someone that's different than they've had for the last year. So, but listen, I think looking at the priorities, obviously we go into it with a focus. Like I said, there's districts already thinking about what next year is, but I think that for us, the factors of what we find the value in our principals in Hanover Township are so valuable that and I get to see the incredible work that they do every day, and I can truly tell you our schools would not be as great without the principals we have. So but to your point, we could get there, right? We could get there. And again, I'm not trying to cause panic because in some ways we have to look year by year. And yes, are those factors of, are we thinking, could we have a retirement in few? We're not allowed to ask, could we? Sure, right? And of course, yes, you don't want to lose great talent when you might have someone, but the state doesn't really, care that we have to figure out how to balance the budget, how to do it. And truthfully, even the budget that we're presenting is, we are operating in a very, we're not leaving ourselves a big cushion, right? And because truthfully, the recommendations from our auditors were, we should have probably gone deeper than we did. And honestly, that's where I was like, I'm drawing the line there, right? So, and I say it, I'm probably sharing a little too much, but just to understand the levels of conversations that we're having and the pushback that we're having, because, there is a chance, like God forbid, there's a very big facilities issue. We're going to have to look at how to solve that, right? Am I betting a little bit? 100%. Are we looking at broader facilities things? As we talked about in the newsletter last month, we are exploring the process of what it would be to do a referendum to repair some of these critical things. And as several in the audience and several up here have grown up in the schools, some of the substantial improvements haven't been paid since we were there before, right? So, these are all competing factors, and I truly say I appreciate the passion, the fact that you're spending time and caring enough to be here says a lot about what you value, and that's what made me want to come back to this community as having grown up in this community. And when I tell you we started these conversations in September on purpose, right? Because normally you start in like December, January. We were not going to do that, and the amount of conversations that evolve and the factors that change, lumping the principals have had me pull them into meeting after meeting after meeting to really try to figure out how do we take the best of a not great situation. It's like Mr. Amorosano said, you're having to choose between awful and bad, and where do we kind of figure out how to make the decisions that we need to make. And truthfully, if there are questions that come up as you think about when you can't sleep at 3 o'clock tonight, please email that address that was posted. I'm sure we could post it again. Email that address. The presentation will be posted by tomorrow for you to look at, and encourage parents who weren't able to come to watch the recording or to look at the presentation and to email questions. We are the guardians of the district, but it's really your district. It's your children's district, right? And so we're trying to make the best decisions we can based on the information that we have, based on the resources we have, based on the situations that we're in, and trying to navigate moving forward. So, I do appreciate the passion. I appreciate, suggestions. If anyone wants to write a check, we also take those too, made out to HTBOE.
Like 2 tricky trays away. Yeah.
All right. We can talk. We can talk. But no, I appreciate it. So.
Are there any other?
Just one
Yeah,
last,
go ahead.
one last question I wanted to address. As far as cutting sports programs or the arts, I'll say it right now, you're never going to get me to vote for that. No, I just want to make it clear, I am adamantly a fan of the arts and extracurriculars.
That includes music, that includes every
Music,
type of art,
the
every
arts,
type
the
of
sports.
Yeah.
Well,
That-
that may be something we have to consider at some point, but I just, right.
Pay to play, if you look around at districts have gone to pay to play, we have a very robust sports culture in this town. For a small town, it's a very robust sports culture. Look around at some of these towns that went pay to play, and it decimates it. It's unfortunate. It's a real disservice to the children. As an athlete myself, former athlete myself, very former athlete myself, I really feel that it's very important for children to have that as an outlet, as a learning experience, and also as an architect, the arts to me is absolutely important. So yes, I'm with Greg. It would be, to me, I can't speak for the board. It would have to be last resort type of thing.
I would never want that. I'm a designer.
Yep.
The arts must stay,
Right.
sports must stay. But I guess what I'm saying is, on the fundraising note, we did an excellent job at it just recently, and I know that we can't fundraise for salaries. I don't think, because I ChatGPT that. But you could.
Thank you for being honest about ChatGPT. I appreciate that.
But you could fundraise potentially for the arts.
Right.
Or for sports. So maybe some families couldn't, afford to pay $100 registration fee, but maybe we can fundraise for that to take it away from the Board of Ed, who can put that into salaries and keep teachers.
Talk about that in PTA advisory.
Yeah, I don't think that's something we would be involved in, but like Justin said, there are avenues that can be provided by the public. That's all.
And thank you.
And since you asked the question, we are projecting 2 sections in every school for kindergarten for next year. So wherever you heard about a rumor of one, rumors are rumors, but we are planning on 2 sections, and we have the numbers to justify 2 sections in every elementary school for next year. And someone asked, well, why you're a kindergarten teacher, right? And unfortunately, what we have to think about is district employees, right? It's not just one. We look at the whole picture. We sit down as an admin team. We look at the entire district as a whole. And as I mentioned, with tenure laws and certain bumping rights, certain people have to bump certain people, and then that leaves certain people that are on the outside looking in, right? So it's not necessarily. There are many teachers, even at B Meadow School, that have been at Salem Drive, at Mount View Road, and also at B Meadow, or at the other schools too. So it really just depends on the on the timing. Last year we had a teacher go from B Meadow to Mount View, right? So it really just depends. So really the contract is you're an elementary teacher in the district, and the district can really assign you anywhere. I'm not saying you don't have passion for that specific teacher, and that's awesome.
I would love for her to be at every
Right,
school.
right.
I don't care what school
Totally.
it is. I just don't want her to not be a teacher or to get burned by this system.
Right.
Where I've had a sister who was in education.
Right.
Who loved education.
Right.
So.
No, understood.
We're well aware of the talent that is being lost,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Does anybody else have any other more comments? Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Can I also say one more thing?
Real quick.
Paul Sesko from Whippany again. I was down in Trenton on January 12th, and I advised everybody to come down and see how they vote down there. And it was really shocking because normally there's a 2-year period where you can submit a bill to be voted on. And we were at the last day. And 10 days before that, a bill was proposed to spruce up the Devil Stadium in a tune of $300 million. That could have been used to fix all the school funding for the state for a couple years at least. So, and it's one party's been in charge for 25 years, and this is the kind of stuff that's been going on. And the other side was vehemently against that. They talked for a while, and they just voted it anyway. So there's money that went to a billionaire for the Devil Stadium. It could have went towards school funding. So next time you vote, or come down to Trenton and see what they're doing down there, because you can't just trust them. And it takes civic duty, involvement is really the best way we could try to fix a lot of things in this state. So $300 million. Thank you.
I just want to also add, I didn't, even though I was up there, I really just was looking good with Mrs. Krasny. She's really, you know, the backbone behind this, and I appreciate her and her business office, you know, for all of the hard work. Obviously, it's a very collaborative process, but, you know, the painstaking day-to-day is really a testament to her and the business office, so I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that.
Thank you. We agree. Yeah, go ahead.
Really
Of course.
appreciate the district giving subscription busing. My kids now no longer really need it, but there was a time where I was sitting in this boardroom asking for it, and they even gave me a little presentation on it, but it never went anywhere. So I think it's a huge achievement to have this available now for the district, so thank you.
Thanks, Christine. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment. I think I see a lot of people who want to try to help, but it's very difficult, especially if you're in the public. And I have one idea, and it stems from where we get our funding from. Basically, it's the major tax levy that comes from our ratables. It's the total value of everything in the township that is then taxed. But it's houses and businesses. It's commercial and industrial. And one of the good things about Hanover, the reason that our taxes are lower than neighboring areas, is that we have one of the best ratios of industrial and commercial businesses to the number of housing units in our township. It's that paired with the two government institutions, meaning the Board of Ed and the municipal government, not overspending for really their entire existence. And as you alluded to earlier, a lot of infrastructure here is the same in the buildings that was present when we were students here. The districts have not really overspent on shiny, flashy things. They've run, you know, pretty much to the bone for decades and don't go into debt. Last time was to expand the schools 20-something years ago, and the township level, I don't think has had a bonded debt in 50 years, so that keeps our taxes low. Where do you guys come into play is on the commercial and the industrial side of it. Businesses that come into our town pay taxes. If they are replacing something that's dilapidated or are building a new business, that then gets taxed. That tax revenue goes to the town hall and then to us as more funding money. If anyone here has ideas for a business that they want to relocate into town, or if they want to talk to somebody, have them open another chain of something, just talk to me. I'll refer it to the Economic Development Committee and to Township Committee. I know this is a stretch, but it helps. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Okay. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Mr. Morsano, second.
Second.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And thank you all for coming.